The United States is a trash fire right now, isn't it? All because Alabama, Georgia, and the other states want to ban abortion. But there's a bit of controversy surrounding it. Why is that?
Roe versus Wade.
Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade.
Roe versus Wade.
It's Roe versus Wade. One of the most important court cases as of this moment, the most crucial thing standing between women's rights and banning abortion. How did this case come about? Let's go back to the beginning. Not that far. Let's start in 1965 with the case that set the stage, Griswold versus Connecticut.
After attempting to open a birth control clinic in New Haven, Lee Buxton, a gynecologist from Yale, and Estelle Griswold, the head of Planned Parenthood in Connecticut, were arrested under the 1979 law which banned the use of contraception in any form. Their reasoning for opening the birth control clinic in New Haven was to challenge the constitutionality of the statute under the 14th Amendment before the Supreme Court. They attempted to solve this question. Would the Constitution protect a couple's right to the marital privacy against a state's restrictions? The case made its way to the Supreme Court. The court explained that the Constitution does not explicitly protect a general right to privacy, but together the First, Third, Fourth, and Ninth Amendments create the right of privacy in marital relations. This right prevented the states from making the use of contraception by married couples illegal. Justice Goldberg, Justice Warren, Justice Brennan, Justice Harlan, and Justice White agreed with this, but also believed that the 14th Amendment had the main basis for the decision. Justice Black and Justice Stewart, however, dissented with the others, but it was obvious who the court was in favor at that moment. The court's decision was 7-2 in favor of Estelle Griswold. The law Connecticut passed in 1979 directly violated this right to privacy and was declared null and void. This ruling would set the precedent for Roe v. Wade.
Norma L. McCorvey was a pregnant woman who didn't have the funds to leave Texas to have an abortion performed. You see, Texas had an extremely restrictive policy on abortion at the time. The only time a woman could have an abortion is if her mental or physical health was threatened. Norma L. McCorvey wasn't in danger, but believed that she had the constitutional right to have an abortion performed in a safe medical environment. In 1971, two women, Linda Coffey and Sarah Weddington, graduated from the University of Texas Law School. They filed a lawsuit for Norma L. McCorvey, who took the alias Jane Roe to protect herself. They filed it against Henry Wade, District Attorney of Dallas County. They wanted to challenge the standing law against abortion in Texas at the time. The court case was to state that a woman had the constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy for any reason. The Texas court declared the law unconstitutional, so Wade appealed to the Supreme Court. The case was brought before the Supreme Court for 2 hearings. The court ruled that the Texas statute violated Roe's right to privacy. In Griswold versus Connecticut, it had already been determined that the First, Fourth, Ninth, and 14th Amendments created the zone of privacy, which included marriage, contraception, and child-rearing. The court ruled that the zone of privacy was broad enough to encompass a woman's decision whether or not to terminate her pregnancy, therefore making the Texas statute and any law restricting abortion in the first trimester illegal. The Supreme Court also reviewed the abortion laws throughout history, some dating back to ancient Greece, and they found 3 justifications for banning abortions. A Victorian social concern to discourage illicit sexual conduct, protecting the health of women, and protecting prenatal life. The first 2 reasons were not valid in that time and age, due to gender roles changing and modern technology making abortion safe. The third justification was argued by the Supreme Court, which determined that prenatal life was not within the definition of persons and therefore not protected under the Constitution. The Supreme Court, however, did reason that states could create narrower abortion laws that could be important enough to be considered constitutional. For example, the fetus isn't considered viable until the 3rd trimester according to the medical community. So if the state attempts to make laws regarding the safety of a fetus during the 1st trimester, it would be considered unconstitutional. They could, however, create laws in the 2nd and 3rd trimester if it is to protect the woman, as abortions in the 2nd and 3rd trimesters could threaten the health of the woman. Ultimately, the Supreme Court's decision was 7-2 in Roe's favor, and abortion has been legal in all states ever since.
Good evening.
evening, in a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today legalized abortions. The majority in cases from Texas and Georgia said that the decision to end a pregnancy during the first 3 months belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government. Thus, the anti-abortion laws of 46 states were rendered unconstitutional.
Currently, many states are attempting to pass laws that challenge the Roe v. Wade ruling. On May 15th, 2019, Alabama's Governor Kay Ivey signed a law that stated women in Alabama could only receive an abortion in 2 cases: if the woman is endangered while giving birth or if the fetus would not survive birth. This leaves 2 very important scenarios out of the conversation: cases of rape or incest. This new law would make victims of rape and incest powerless against the law, as they would be forced to carry their fetus to term. Other states like Missouri and Mississippi have tried to pass a law that would make abortions illegal after a fetal heartbeat is detected. This could be as early as 6 weeks, when most women don't find out they are pregnant until week 6, when the fetus is the size of a rice grain. Taking away women's rights to safe abortions will cause more harm than good. From 1972 to 1974, as Roe v. Wade was debated and settled, the Center for Disease Control estimated that the annual number of unsafe abortions performed plummeted from 130,000 in 1972 to 17,000 in 1974, as abortion was legalized across the United States. Therefore, a rise in unsafe abortions should be expected if abortion protections are rescinded. These restrictive laws have been passed in state legislatures with predominantly male representatives who are misinformed on what abortion is.
Passed out of the state Senate by these 25 Republican lawmakers, all of them white men, the more ludicrous it reveals itself to be.
In addition, it is apparent that these laws are meant to restrict women's reproductive rights, not protecting fetuses' rights. These motives were made apparent when...
So the egg in the lab doesn't apply. It's not in a woman. She's not pregnant.
You caught what he said. If a fertilized egg is not actually inside a woman's body, it doesn't count. To many observers, that gave away the whole game on what the anti-abortion agenda is really all about.
In 1973, the United States Supreme Court ruled that the government wouldn't restrict women's access to safe abortions in the first trimester. Any law passed by a state legislature that restricts abortion access within the first 12 weeks of a pregnancy is unconstitutional. These currently unenforceable state laws represent a new push by anti-abortion advocates to overturn Roe v. Wade. This reversal of a precedent is a real possibility, as the Supreme Court now holds a conservative majority. Until that happens, the landmark case Roe v. Wade will remain standing, a reminder of how far we've progressed as a society.